Hello and welcome to Cooking with Shards. My husband and I manage a remote cattle station in the Northern Territory. It's 1.7 million acres in the middle of nowhere and 5 hours from town. Let's just say you can't pop to the neighbours for a cup of sugar because, well, they're over an hour's drive away. I'm also the station cook and we usually have around 12 staff. Life is crazy, busy, and full of adventure. But today, we're here to cook. Hi everyone and welcome to Cooking with Shards. Today we're going to make a beautiful soft bread loaf. This recipe is an all-time favourite of mine. I found it on YouTube. I use it to make my bread rolls and also you can just make a beautiful soft bread loaf. What you're going to need, 1.5 cups of warm milk. I just warmed this in the microwave for about 35 seconds and it just needs to be warm to touch. Now to that, we're going to add 60 grams of melted butter. Again, I just melted this in the microwave. Just pop all that in there. Give it a little mix around. Now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. You can add 1 tablespoon. It doesn't really make a difference to the outcome of your loaf, and it'll mean there's a little bit less sugar in there. Now we're going to add 1 egg. Another whisk. Now it's time for the yeast. I just use this Lowen instant dried yeast. It's what I use for all of my baking. I'm going to add 2¼ teaspoons of this yeast. One last really good whisk. And we're going to set this aside for about 5 minutes to let that yeast activate and it'll start to bubble up. So I'm just going to pop that. In the bain-marie with the light on. While we're waiting for the yeast mixture to bubble up nicely, we're going to add 3½ cups of plain flour and 1½ teaspoons of salt to the Mixmaster bowl. And we're going to use the dough attachment on that Mixmaster. Okay, as you can see, it's started to bubble up there. That yeast is all activated and that's what you want it to look like. And now we're going to add that to the flour and salt mixture. Just pop it in the bowl and off we go. Okay, once that all comes together and you don't have any dry flour at the bottom of the bowl, you're going to mix that for about 3 minutes on medium speed. I put it on about a number 3. Okay, after you've finished mixing that in the Mixmaster for about 3 minutes, the dough should have come together all beautifully. It'll be nice and smooth and ready to tip out onto your floured surface. You're going to need a fair bit of flour because, like I said, it is quite a wet consistency. I've got this little dough scraper. I bought it from, I think, one of those shops like House or Robin's Kitchen. It was like $2 or something like that, but it is unreal for bread making. So let's get this dough scraped out of this bowl and onto our floured surface. Now I'm just going to knead it for about a minute, but it's really just to bring it together because we've done the majority of the kneading in the Mixmaster. But like I said, it does not matter if you don't have a Mixmaster. I've made this heaps of times, bread rolls, bread loaf without the Mixmaster, and it works perfectly fine. Just bring your wet ingredients, just pour your wet ingredients in with your flour like I did and mix it all together, and then tip it out onto a floured surface and just knead it. You're going to knead it for about 5 minutes. Bring it all together in the bowl with your hand. Give it a little knead in the bowl until it's ready to tip out. And I promise you it will work perfectly. I absolutely love making bread. It's one of my favorite things to do. Okay, this is just about ready. It's all come together. It's beautiful and smooth. Now we're going to pop that into a lightly oiled glass bowl. I'm just going to pop a little bit of olive oil in it. And I'm just going to mix that around with a little bit of paper towel to grease the bowl. Just going to grease the top part of the bread and then flip it, top part of the dough, and then flip it over. There we go. Now we're going to pop some Glad wrap over the top of that, and we're going to let it rise until it's doubled in size, which will take about an hour. Pop it in a warm environment. Now I've discovered our butcher shop is the perfect temperature for rising bread. So I'm going to take it out there and leave it there. It's probably only going to take about an hour because it is quite warm in there. Now that the dough has doubled in size, I'm going to divide it into 6 equal parts, and I'm going to cook it using 2 loaf pans today. Now these loaf pans are 23 centimeters by 13. I'm going to grease these. I'm going to pop some Glad bake in them. I'm going to pop 3 equal portions into these bread pans. Okay, this has risen beautifully. Check that out. Now with clean hands, I'm going to put some flour on and we're going to punch the air out of this beautiful dough. Rightio, now we're going to flour our surface just lightly. You don't need too much, just so it doesn't stick. And we're going to divide that into 6 equal parts. Okay, now I'm just going to knead them a little bit and form them into little sort of oval shape rolls. If you're making bread rolls, this is the exact technique that you use. Just sort of bring it over. You don't want too much flour because you don't want them too floury, but you also don't want them to stick to your surface. And I just bring them around, like lift a little bit from the edge, bring it over. Bring it over. Just use the tips of my fingers. And then you end up with, it looks like that on the bottom, and then you just sort of roll it around like that. Brings it together into a beautiful round bread roll shape. But for my loaf tins, I want them a little bit rectangle, a little bit oval shape. So there we go. Now I'm going to pop that in the middle and pop the other two on either side of that. See, 3 in there like that. Now they're going to rise beautifully in there and they'll all join together and form a loaf. I guess you could just divide the mixture into 2 pieces, roll it out a bit, plop it in the loaf tin. I can't see, that would work out perfectly fine. I'm not really sure why I do it like this. We should have had a little tester, shouldn't we? I'm going to preheat my oven to 180 degrees on a bake setting, not a fan force setting. These have risen really beautifully. I'm not sure if you can see those. We'll just take the Glad wrap off. Beautiful. Now what we're going to do, brush some egg and milk mixture. So I've just cracked 1 egg and a little dash of milk into here, whisked it up, and now we're just going to lightly brush that on top of the bread. I'm going to sprinkle some sesame seeds onto 1 loaf and leave the other loaf plain. Okay, now into the oven for about 20 minutes. You're just going to have to keep a really close eye on them because it will depend on your oven and how long they're going to take to bake. Okay, let's have a look. They've only been in here for about 10 minutes, I think. They're already quite dark. I might turn it down a bit. I think they're just about ready, to tell you the truth. Okay, so they've only been in there for about 12 minutes and I think they're done. So I'm going to pull them out. Let's check them out. I think I've had the oven a little bit too hot because they're a little bit overcooked, to tell you the truth. So maybe turn your oven down. If you're using an electric oven, maybe, I don't know, you could try it on fan force at 170. I might do it on fan force next time. Just play around. You're just going to have to figure out your own oven and how long it's going to take, but definitely check them after about 10 minutes. They're a little bit overdone for my liking, but look at that beautiful little loaf. Aren't they cute? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop them on a wire. I'm going to pop them on a wire rack to cool down. Look at that, beautiful. So soft. Okay, this part is totally optional, but I like to brush a little bit of butter on top. It makes it really glossy and shiny. And I mean, can you ever have too much butter? The answer is no. No, you cannot have too much butter. And my secret little weapon is a little sprinkle of salt. Now we're going to pop a tea towel over those and leave them for about 5 minutes. Okay, let's check it out. It's time to cut into it. Yum. Check this out. Look how beautiful and soft this bread is. It's just so light and fluffy. You will not be sorry if you try this recipe. Bread rolls, bread, anything. It's just delicious. Now, I'm going to save this one and cut into it for Clancy when he finishes school. So let's have a look at this one. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. Can't help myself. Fresh bread. Got to slather it in butter. Let's give it a taste. Oh, yum. That is so good. You could make a beautiful little sandwich with that. You can toast it. You can turn it into garlic bread. That is so good. You could pop it in the freezer, pull it out, slice it, turn it into garlic bread. Put garlic and cheese through the slices. It doesn't get much better than this, guys, does it? Happy baking, my friends. You will not be sorry if you try this loaf. Go forth and bake.